Therefore, I'm just going to share my screen briefly, and then I'm going to pull it back out. This was just a reminder of last call. Like CrossFit is defined as constantly varied functional movement executed at high intensity. And the goal is general physical preparedness, which also can be described as a broad, general, and inclusive fitness. And that is what led us up to today's call. Because if we say that we want some sort of fitness, we need to be able to define what that is. Make sense? So
yes.
So we're gonna quickly run through the 10 general physical skills, the Hopper, the metabolic pathways, and then the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum that I believe was Maria who picked up on that already on the first call and really liked it. So we're gonna get back to that. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen here, so I can go to my notes. And the first thing that we can say about fitness in the most general term is fitness can be described as an adaptive capacity that lends itself well to any physical activity. So if you have good fitness, it means that you can do just about anything. That was the first point that CrossFit wanted to make. Like, it should, the capacity you cultivate should lend itself well to just about anything. The second thing we need to know when we go into the 4 models is that it's not the single model that gives us the explanation. It's the 4 models combined that give us the explanation. So you can't just look at 10 general physical skills or just look at the Hopper model or the other 2, but you have to look at all 4 at the same time. And that will give us the full understanding of what fitness is. Clint? Sweet. And this is a comment also about what we were talking about last time, is like, where's the scientific evidence? Well, what I want to say about CrossFit, or what they say when they define fitness and when they define what CrossFit is that the definition they have of fitness, that CrossFit has of fitness, is empirical. That means that it came from measured observation. Okay, they had this hypothesis, they went into the gym and they tried it, and they saw that there was the outcome that they were looking for was there. And then, fortunately enough, CrossFit grew massively, and it's now the biggest fitness company in the whole world. So their data set is therefore bigger than anybody else. It's bigger than what any university anywhere on the globe has been able to produce in terms of research material, if you don't count like peer review research. So, very general introduction about the thoughts on fitness from CrossFit. All right, 10 general physical skills, the first model. Do you guys see, and this is a question to you now, and I'd like you to give me a response, like, how would you group these 10 general physical skills? We can group them in at least 2 ways to start with. Nick is nodding his head. He's got the answer. He knows what it is.
Yeah, no. It's
Tell us.
not what I talked about earlier. Do I have it?
Anybody who can beat Nicke to it? 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, is it through training or through practice? Is it those two?
Yes, exactly. So a few of them are skills that you would typically practice, and a few of them are skills that you would typically train. So a few of them, we say that the adaptation that they drive is neurological. So the adaptation is not visible in any way because it happens within our nervous system. Can you tell us what those 4 are, Nicke, if you got the 10 general physical skills?
The four about what?
Neurological ones, the ones that you practice. There are 4 that you would practice.
Coordination, agility, balance, accuracy.
Those are the 4. Yes.
Yeah.
Those are the 4.
Yeah, I understand, but when they present it like that, I understand, but they have weightlifting and gymnastics as to.
That's really cool. Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Thank you, Nicke. So you have the neurological component, and then you have the others. That is typically a physiological adaptation. And then we're talking about cardiovascular endurance. We're talking about stamina. We're talking about strength. We're talking about flexibility. So if we would look at the human body on a molecular level, we would actually see a difference when we're looking at those things. Make sense? Then we have 2 more, power and speed, where you need both. You need both a neurological adaptation and a physiological adaptation. Make sense, everybody?
Yeah.
All right. And Nicke, you said something in the beginning that I really liked. Like, now I understand why we need to practice the different things. And if we like zoom out the most we can and we look at Homo sapiens on planet Earth, we will quickly see that nature does not give a damn about strength being a better physical skill than cardiovascular endurance, for instance. Like at some point, you would get eaten by a lion because you couldn't run away from it. And at some point, you would get eaten by a lion because you couldn't hit it hard enough. Okay? So nature doesn't care. Nature doesn't care about whether or not you think that strength is better than cardiovascular endurance, or in Paul's case, at least before, cardiovascular endurance is better than strength. Nature doesn't care. So a deficiency in any one skill can lead to the loss of a game, or the loss of a mission, or even the loss of life. So a program that says that it should improve your fitness, a program develops your fitness only to the extent that it improves each of the 10 general physical skills. That's what we're looking for in CrossFit. We're trying to get as good as possible in all of these 10 general physical skills. Any questions about the 10 general physical skills?
What's the relation to the level method here? Is it more or less one-to-one?
Well, the level method is based on this methodology.
Yes, I understand.
So if there was not this methodology, level method would not have existed. So the level method, the 15 categories that we have in level method tries to reflect all of the fitness models that we're discussing today, actually, or especially the 10 general physical skills and the metabolic pathways. Not as much the Hopper model as Michael said. Cool. And great segue to the Hopper model there. So the whole point of the model is like, if you're gonna decide who the fittest person is, it's the one who performs statistically best across all the tasks that we can pull from this Hopper. Tombola. I'm always thinking about Bingo Lotto or Keno. No, Keno. I'm thinking about Keno. They picked numbers. That's a joke for the Swedish people only. Sorry, Sinead and Michael, you won't get that. It's okay. It's not very funny, actually. And of course, like this is where we can make an example of like the CrossFit athlete and other athletes. And if we make the example extreme, we will pick, for instance, a ultra distance runner or a marathon runner and a power athlete, like a power lifter, for instance. And then we have them compete in different events. So we have them first compete in a deadlift. Okay, power lifter will win, CrossFit will come in second, marathon runner will lose. Okay, second event. Now we're going to compete in a 20K run. So the marathon runner will beat the others by long. CrossFitter, though, will come in second. And then the power lifter, he will be dead last. He can't even run 20K. It's impossible for that guy. Poor guy. Okay, and then third event. Now we're both going to lift and we're going to run. So we're going to pick up something medium heavy and we're going to run 800-meter intervals. And at this point, the CrossFitter is going to beat the others by long. Okay, so powerlifter 1-1, marathon runner 1-1, and they both got third place on the other events. But the CrossFitter came in first, second. So statistically, the CrossFitter is more well-rounder and therefore will survive more and more tests from the Hopper model. And I'm going to try to tie this to Michael's observation about CrossFit competition and CrossFit tests. So there are lots of limiting factors when it comes to those tests. So they will only be able to test that much in X amount of time that they have for a competition. So that's the first big constraint that they have. Second of all, Michael, CrossFit, competing in CrossFit only happened years after CrossFit had first started. CrossFit is for life. That was their tagline in the beginning. And at some point in about 2006, somebody came up with the idea that, hey, shouldn't we try to like do a competition here? And that's only then people actually started competing in the sport of fitness. So the sport of fitness is actually just the tip of the spear when it comes to CrossFit. We do CrossFit in order to not suck at life. That's what we do, why we do it. And we just like you say, we want to be able to win as many of the things that we can pull out of the Hopper as possible. Does that give you more food for thought? Thank you. Awesome. I'm happy. So a fitness program, again, just like we said, a program should develop all 10 general physical skills. A fitness program should also develop capacity across a broad range of skills and drills. That's the point of the Hopper model. And there is greater benefit to your fitness in pursuing your deficiencies than in spending additional time on your strength. This is coming back to Nicke's observation as well. You should spend time at the things you suck at if you really want to improve your fitness, more than going after, oh, I'm good at this already, I should get better. And tying it back to, I think, Sinead's observation about level method. No, it was Maria, both of you. Anyways, like that's exactly the goal of the level method, is not to make you better at what you're already good at. It's make you better at the things you suck at or are not as good at, that you will eventually not suck at as much. You get the picture? Cool. Any other questions or thoughts about the Hopper model? Yes, Clint, go.
When it comes to the level method and so on, what would you say, how long time or how many CrossFit lessons do you have to attend to be able to really know I mean, sometimes it takes months before you if you don't train every day, sometimes it takes a long time before you do what you did a month ago again. At least it was that for me. And if you really want to, you know, be giving everything a shot and train on everything, how much time do you think it will take to level out, so to say? Do you have any?
I really like your train of thoughts here, Clint. I think there are a couple of different perspectives on your question. Like the first perspective is, well, it depends on where you start, right? So for you, it might take X amount of time. For me, it might take X amount of time. It depends on our training history and our training age. So that will play into this. The second perspective there is like, well, sometimes you just don't do. Let's say you've done we did kettlebell snatch the other day, for instance. And sometimes kettlebell snatch, you know, it might go a whole month and you're not going to do kettlebell snatch because, well, the day they did kettlebell snatch, you were not there. So it takes another month. So it takes a long time before you do kettlebell snatch again. But this is the beauty of a well-varied training program, which actually, well, a well-varied training program does not need to include everything all the time, because there's such a good spillover effect between different movements. So you can actually become better at the kettlebell snatch without practicing the kettlebell snatch, because you practice so many other things that has such a great carryover. We said a fancy word last time, which is oh, I got it on the tip of my tongue here. We mentioned it last time.
I could give you.
I could
give you just a short good example. It was the first post I think I did on the
Bright Spot
Facebook.
Friday. Yeah, High Five
Yes.
Friday. Cool.
Yeah, and it was we did Cossack.
Cossack squats. Yes.
Yes, I did it when I started, and I couldn't do it. I was too weak. And then the second time I did it was about a year later or something like that. And I could do them pretty well. I haven't done them once since I did it the first time. And now, yeah, I had more balance and power and so on. And that was quite fun. And that's much fun. So I had to write about it. But that was something that, yeah.
I thought of the word universal motor recruitment patterns. Okay, universal motor recruitment patterns. Sinead nods her head. She loves those words, by the way. Yeah, the beautiful words. Yes, I like them. So by training lots of different big functional movements that we talked about last time, we actually get good at stuff that we don't do every day. Make sense? So this is also part of why we think of the Hopper model, or use the Hopper model when we describe fitness. All right, moving on to the metabolic pathways, which intrigued many of you. And here's the thing about these three. Let me do this as well, just to get everybody on the same page about what we're talking about. Just going to flip to this screen. Okay, so you see the metabolic pathways on the screen in front of you. Thumbs up, please. Good, thank you, Clint. Always fastest, like Lucky Luke. So we have three. We described three metabolic pathways here. The most important part about this, the key concept, it doesn't really matter if there's three metabolic pathways, or if there are 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, or let's say the research has come up with metabolic pathway number 8 in 3 years. What we're looking for when we are trying to develop fitness is all of them. We want to get good at all of the metabolic pathways. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, so let's for argument say that we have these pathways, and what they basically do is they create something. We don't have to understand what it is exactly, but it's called ATP for energy. And there's one system that works a short amount of time and it produces a whole lot of ATP. And then we have another system that works a little bit longer and it actually produces quite a lot of ATP as well. And then we have a system that we can basically use it forever. You're actually using that system mostly now. Your anaerobic, your aerobic system, or the oxidative system is what's keeping us alive right now. Make sense so far?
Yes.
And also, it's like it's not, they are not exclusive to one another. They overlap. So when you start something, it's going to be the body is going to use the source that will be the fastest one, and that happens to be the phosphagen, because basically you got a little bit of energy stored in your muscle cell, creatine phosphate, and that's super fast. So of course, whenever we start something, we will use a little bit of that, and then we will move on to use some of the other processes that produces energy, and then if it's not going up any further, we might move on to the third system and just use oxygen basically to move. Make sense? So they overlap. There's an overlap there.
Yeah, so I have a question here. So when we do heavy stuff like a thruster, and the coach says, "Come on, and let's do it again," and then you feel like you have to stop for a while and breathe a bit, and is that a sign that you just exhausted the first system?
Well, it's one of those questions again that you have to ask yourself, or I have to say it depends. So it depends. So a max lift, it's something that you would probably just do once. once or twice. Or like if you run, it's like you saw it on the picture there, that it's like a 10 seconds. That's for how long, that's just about how long that system could last before it's empty. And just like Sinead said, it takes some time to regain the fuel.
Yeah.
The body has to, put fuel back in. So it depends, like you said, a few reps and then you have to rest. So we might already be in the next system, and the problem might not be that it's your phosphagen system that is weaker. It might actually be the lactic acid system that we're tapping into. So it depends on the task we're talking about. And usually with the like, if you're talking about the types of efforts you do when you do the phosphagen system, it's those super short efforts, like a max lift, like your max snatch, clean and jerk, or a 3-rep max deadlift or something like that, or max box jump for height or something like that. The very, very short and fast stuff, because pretty soon the lactic acid system is going to kick in.
Mm. But it's the general feeling when you feel uncomfortable, that's mostly the lactic system, I guess.
Yes,
From
the
the-
high levels of discomfort that you would feel from, example, Fran, or
Yeah.
30 seconds on the assault bike, repeats of that. Then, like, basically, we're definitely in what we define as the lactic acid system, and most of the time when you do a workout, you will actually end up being in this system. The majority of the CrossFit workouts that you do, you will spend the most time in this system. So the exceptions are really the very long duration efforts that we do. And when we do long duration, it means that it's a little bit more, it's up towards 30 minutes. That doesn't mean that we should not do, and coming back to your comment in the beginning, Paul, you should do long, slow distance activities. There's the way you have, or it seems like the way I understood that you interpreted the material is that it's forbidden to do long, slow distance activities. No, not at all. It's when you do excessive amounts of long, slow distance that it has a negative effect on anaerobic capacity.
Mm.
That's when you would typically see the size of your muscles getting smaller. You will lose muscle mass. But that's only when you do excessive aerobic work. When you basically never pick up something heavy, you never do any sort of lifting, and you never push yourselves into those more lactic bouts, like aerobic power intervals or lactic tolerance type of workouts. It's when you completely exclude those from your training regimen that you will see negative effects of long, slow distance aerobic capacity work. So, contrary, like if you're talking to a lot of CrossFitters, there is a general, like, I've encountered this many times, like people are almost afraid of doing long, slow distance stuff. It's like, no, I never run, or I never go on long bike rides. And that's a misinterpretation. Of course we should do that. And the really cool thing is that we actually get better at that stuff by doing anaerobic work, by doing interval trainings, because that way our heart and lungs just gets mean. We get mean capacity. aerobic capacity. But we're never going to get good at running long distances if we never do it, correct? And coming back to the Hopper model, like, well, Homo sapiens would get eaten by the lion if they could not run away from it. Therefore, it's a damn good idea to be able to run long distances. So of course we should do it every now and then. Any more questions about the metabolic pathways? So again, like we said that a fitness program that claims to develop fitness should develop your 10 physical skills. It should prepare you for a wide variety of skills and drills from the Hopper model. It should also improve capacity across all the 3 different metabolic pathways.
Is there a way to stretch the time cap for glycolytic lactate? I think it says 2 minutes here. If you go to Fran, for example.
Oh, it actually says up to a minute.
Up to a minute, okay.
Yes. But if you think about Fran and you think about the 2 movements we do in Fran,
Yeah.
we do a pulling movement, an upper body pulling movement, and we do a lower body squatting and pressing movement, lower body, upper body squatting and pressing movement. So
Yeah.
they're the complete opposite of each other. And we do 21 reps first time, 21 reps second time. That's under a minute of work. Second
Yeah.
time, 15 reps, both under a minute of work. Last time, 9 reps, also under a minute of work. And you should be able to finish that workout on around 5 minutes. Let's say 5 minutes is our goal.
Yeah.
Lifetime goal. 6 minutes. Okay. It's a lifetime goal for Fran. So does that make sense, Peter?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're actually not spending more because you're working in intervals.
Yeah. You have a few seconds rest between.
Exactly. Also, if you're not a real badass like our French Canadian here, you will also rest. As normal people, we put our hands on our knees and we rest a little bit before we pick up the barbell again, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So the way the workout actually plays out is interval training, and we're working with different movements in order to maximize the effect of the lactic acid system.
Is there a way to be better in recovery in a short time between the sets?
Yes, I think you can probably answer this question yourself.
Yeah.
What would you do, Peter, in order to get better at recovering?
I think train more, perhaps.
Right, you
Practice
would continue to develop
Yeah,
these 3 metabolic pathways.
Yeah.
And here, and some of you guys are going to love hearing this, like the more we develop our aerobic capacity, the more we develop our capacity to recover.
okay, yeah.
Because the other systems are charged by the aerobic system. Is that how we should interpret it?
This is another rabbit hole. I think we have to pause there. I can't answer that question. I can't answer that question without looking into some stuff first. Maybe Michael can contribute. Mikael, do you have anything to add there?
So I've trained some powerlifting in the past, and some of them didn't recover well just before a set and after a set. So they need to work under aerobic capacity to do well in training. So I will say yes at the end at the question, but that's a part of the solution, not all of it.
Yeah, but that's a pretty cool observation. You have power lifters. They typically do not work on their aerobic capacity, and you can see that their recovery is not super good. Okay,
I mean,
So-
just a
Yep.
very super quick one there is you're not going to be using oxygen for the first two metabolic pathways because they're anaerobic for having no oxygen. But they did, I would imagine, I haven't looked into it recently, but I would imagine that you do produce ATP, which is like your fuel.
yes,
Like one doesn't just turn off and then the other one. They can happen. There's going to be an overlap. So by improving your oxygen metabolic pathway, yes, you're still going to be using your other one perhaps predominantly, but you are still using the aerobic.
yeah.
So
let's say
it-
let's say that for now. Thank you, Sinead. I
You're a
think,
hybrid
yeah,
car. You're a
Yes.
hybrid car.
Just think of
Yes.
Jason Kalipak in the past. He was a strong guy. He won the CrossFit game in 2010, and and the year he won, it was because he worked on his aerobic capacity this year.
Yes, yes.
That's it.
All right, very cool. We have to spend a little bit of time on the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum as well. And so if we now, let me do this. I'm gonna share my screen quickly again. And again, we're gonna look at this picture. So we have the power on one axis and time on the other. And we could actually start plotting like different tasks that takes less than 10 seconds, and some other tasks that would take a little bit more time, some tasks that takes around a minute, and some tasks that take a little bit more than a minute, and some at some point we get up to Fran, and those types of stuff, and a little bit longer we're doing Diane, and then on and on and on, and way over here on this side, on this axis, on the time axis, we find tasks that's typically, well, a 10K run or a 20K run or a marathon row, or even ultra distance stuff where we're going on forever. And there's going to be less and less and less power. And we plot all of these things. We pull 100 things from the hopper and we plot all of these things here. We could actually calculate our average, and we could draw a graph down this way, looking like that. Does that make sense? Can you see
Yes.
what I'm doing with a cursor here?
Yes.
So this is how we would measure fitness at any given moment. The area underneath the curve that I just draw is your fitness. And you increase your fitness by moving the whole curve up. Make sense? So then we have a moment measure of fitness. But if we draw a third axis, oh, I wish I had a whiteboard here because it would make it a little bit more visual for you guys. But we just, the last one, the last axis that we draw out to make this a three-dimensional thing is lifespan. And then if we compare our fitness at any given time throughout our life, we actually get a measurement of our health. Isn't that really cool? Like that we can use work capacity across broad time and modal domains as a measurement of health over time. Okay, I'm going to switch to this thing here. So there are plenty of measurements and also capacities that we could use here, and a few of them are mentioned on the screen here: blood pressure, body fat, bone density, different kinds of blood values like triglycerides, HDL cholesterol, glycated hemoglobin, the HbA1c, that's the long blood sugar, muscle mass, but we can also put strength, we could put power, we can put those things on this graph. And at some point, if you go to the doctor and your body fat, for instance, is over 30%, then you're no longer well. You have moved towards sick when it comes to body fat. Same thing like for bone density. At some point, many, especially women, get osteoporosis. So their bone density is less than well. It's actually sick. But when we make the area under the curve bigger and bigger, larger and larger, we will actually affect all of these measurements in the opposite direction. We will move all of these things over towards fitness. So if you compare somebody with a sick level of blood pressure, a well level of blood pressure, and then you go and talk to a really fit person, according to our way of measuring it, they will have better blood pressure. Same thing for body fat, same thing for bone density, etc., etc. Was this the thing you enjoyed, Maria? That resonated with you? Wasn't it you who said like, this is really cool?
Yeah, it was not just sick and healthy, but fit, being on the same scale.
Yeah. And ultimately, like, this is what we're trying to help you guys with every day when you come and work out. We don't want you to PR your deadlift or your 2K row. We want you to become super fit and super healthy. We want you to build a bigger and bigger hedge against sickness, because that's what you're doing. You're building a hedge against sickness. Thumbs up from Clint. I love it. I love it.
I actually noticed last year that when I get sick shorter and more shallow.